Rosenthal Daily, where we never rest our starters. I'm Gregg Rosenthal. I'm here in the Chris Wesseling podcast studio with my friend for the last time in the regular season, but the first time in 2025.
I like the
Cynthia
first time better.
Frelund.
Thank you. Hi. I like the first time better. I'm more of like a fresh starts than a sad goodbyes.
Oh, but we're not making fresh starts, Cynthia. We're finishing out this season, although I'm bringing you back for 2025 if we can afford you. Yeah, let's look at the records from last week. That's why I'm talking about not a fresh start. Cynthia went 2-1. Great pick with the Raiders. Cruised.
You loved the Raiders.
Even,
that was yours.
I loved the Raiders. I'm annoyed I didn't take that. The Bucks, man, even more cruise city. They covered by about 30 points. You missed on the Rams, so you're 2-1, 27-24 on the season. You're one back of me. I went 1-2. I'm now 5 over on the season. I said before last week that I was so confident in my picks that if I ended up with a 1-2, it would shake my confidence a little. But
Are you shook?
There's an asterisk. I'm not shook.
I was going to say, I hope
not. Even in the slightest, because I took two teams in the Broncos and the Falcons that I thought would win straight up and were both underdogs 3 to 4 points.
Yeah.
And you know what? At the end of 60 minutes, they were tied. So you lose your money. I get it, but you don't feel like if you lost on two overtime teams that were underdogs.
That's right.
That you were like on the wrong side. And
That's
by the
right.
way, my little extra pick, the Gregstra, was the Bills who covered 8.5.
I love the Gregstra.
Very easily.
The branding is
feeling
beautiful
good
on that.
And this week I'm feeling good too. My only problem was I have too many games I like. I love week 18. I don't know how you feel about it, but when I was actually betting real money before I could come here,
before you worked here,
I thought the best weeks of opportunity of the season were weeks 1, 2, and 18, because there's just the most that I think there's the most uncertainty that you can feel better about.
I would just say you just have to be disciplined, because the problem that we have is that we're forced to pick all of the games.
Yes. Not on this show, though.
Not on this show, but on Game Day View and other places. So I get frustrated when people are like, you should have known better than on Tuesday when your scores came out that blah, blah, blah. I'm like, didn't you see the update after you told, like,
right.
For example, Jim Harbaugh could rest the starters after the results of some Saturday games. So again, you have to be malleable and flexible. Like, just don't pick that one as one of your confidence ones.
Yes.
So I agree with you.
This is a week where things could change. That Chargers example is perfect. That if the Bengals win on Saturday, that will give the Chargers more motivation to go for the seed because they're trying to pass the Steelers. And you got to stay on top of all this. I feel like we have a pretty good idea. There's some crazy lines out there. Like the Titans are favored over the Texans.
Yep.
The Eagles and the Giants are very close. The Bills and the Patriots. And this is all because of resting starters. I'm curious where you want to go with your first pick. Because like I said, I had a hard time narrowing it down. I like about 6 games a lot.
Agreed.
And my only struggle is where I'm narrowing it down. But where you go?
I think that my first one right now, what are you seeing for Cincinnati?
Cincinnati. That's a bold one because this is a normal game. But that makes sense.
It's a normal game because
there are -2 at Pittsburgh.
All right. I think that Cincinnati wins that one.
Wow.
And they cover the spread on that one. And the reason I'm starting with one that's not a crazy, not a crazy line one like the Cleveland and Baltimore line, 17.5 points, is I know that Cincinnati, they need to win in order to stay playoff relevant. I know that Joe Burrow has been, at least recently, like the joint Jamar Chase, T. Higgins situation has been so fruitful for them that I just think that that's if you were going to give me like a first half line, then I would go for I would love like Baltimore to be winning by at least 9.5 points, but we're not doing that. We're one. Cincinnati wins by 2.
I kind of forgot about that Baltimore game. It was just, the number was so big that I didn't even look at it.
It's ridiculous.
And yet, that's not a crazy pick. I'm on the opposite side, although I'm getting less confident about Pittsburgh. Not for this show. That's my least confident pick of the week. That's just a coin flip. I just don't have faith in that Bengals. But I've been on the wrong side of the Bengals, and you've been on the right side in recent weeks, so don't listen to me. I am going to the next biggest point spread of the week after the Ravens, and that's Bucks.
Yep.
That was actually I wrote down 7 games I liked, and it was the only game that I was ultimately like, I will sleep
Lock it up,
easy.
Locky. Yeah.
Now, the Bucks, they made the number huge to try to get anyone to go on the Saints side. It's 13.5. And so that's aggressive.
Crazy, though, because If it was 14.5, I would feel very differently. 13.5 is 2 scores,
It is,
2
and
touchdowns, obviously.
obviously, throughout this week, I'm looking at teams that are playing for something and teams that
Yep.
aren't or are resting players.
Yep.
This is an extreme example, but there's some numbers to it too. Spencer Rattler, if he was eligible, has been pressured on more of his dropbacks than any quarterback in the entire NFL this season.
Mhm.
That's partly because he holds the ball. Do you know what team has the highest pressure rate since week 11 in the entire NFL?
Well, I mean, I'm guessing that since you asked this question specifically about the Bucs, that it's the Bucs.
It's the Bucks.
It's the Bucs.
So that's right now the team that's the best at pressuring against the quarterback who faces the most pressure, who's a rookie. That's an absolute mismatch. Then you look on the other side of the ball, the Bucks offensive line protects Baker so well. The Saints so low in pressure rate. They are one of the worst teams of all time in terms of giving up yak yardage, something that the Bucks specialize in. Even in a world where the Saints were playing better, I just think the strengths and the weaknesses are so dramatically opposed here in terms of the line play and the tackling for the Saints that I love it. I think they
Yeah, I'm
could
with you.
cover this thing by the end of the first half. So whatever the first half line is, I would like that as well. They want to go to the playoffs. That is my first pick. Give me your second pick.
Well, let me tell you something about this pick first, because that was one that I was considering.
You can jump on board too if we agree hard. Then
You know
go
what?
for it.
I do agree hard
Yes.
because in a week, my model's pretty conservative, and in a week where there's a 17.5-point spread, the fact that Tampa Bay has a higher win percentage for me than Baltimore in the situation where it's a relative to the spread, like they're ranked higher in
Mhm.
that. So, I mean, I don't know. I think I need to jump on board with you in that one.
We've been good, not perfect. I know we missed one.
I think we need.
I think we're about 2-1 or 3-1 when we've been on the same side this year, and I think that's fine. The idea here is we're trying to get these right for our listeners. We're on the same team.
Yeah, we're on the same team here.
We're on the team of the listeners.
That's
and
right. So I'm jumping.
It'll save. It'll make the show shorter, so that's good for everyone. If you just want to get out and about for your day. Okay, my second pick. And like I said, I like a lot of them, and so it was tough to choose between them.
Yeah.
But the longer I looked at my Seahawks -6.5 against the resting Rams, the more I thought this is as if the Seahawks are playing for a playoff spot and the Rams are resting starters, because the Seahawks really want to win this game. They're going to play everyone. They want to get to 10 wins. Mike McDonald talked about how there's a lot of players on the team that have incentives that he wants to, within the framework of winning the game, wants to help them out. I think they're going to be up for it. More importantly, they're playing a team that's starting Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, as backup quarterbacks go, that's not bad. But when you're sitting Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp and you're replacing them with Xavier Smith and Jordan Whittington and you're sitting offensive linemen. And I look at this Rams roster as someone who's been to a lot of their preseason games. They're a stars and scrubs type of roster. So if you sit down Jared Verse and a couple of their best players, it's a big drop off to the undrafted free agents that are coming in. Of course, they're not really trying to win. The crowd's not going to care. 6.5 is a lot, obviously. But I kind of was looking forward to this game if the Rams had something to play for. And I might just have picked the Seahawks to win straight up if both starters were playing, because of the way the Rams offense has really taken on water lately. So do I think their backups are suddenly going to play well? No, I'm going Seahawks -6.5.
I like that pick a lot. I'm going to pick another one just so we're not, but I am on the same side as that, just so we're clear. However, my one fantasy note here for like daily would be a Blake Corum situation. I think he could have a fun week. I'm not suggesting he's going to be like, a guy in, like, if you're in your championships, I'm not late, but if you're playing in DFS and you want to have some fun, we can't do it. Do it for us.
Yeah, Seattle.
We're not allowed.
The reason why I like them is I do think they've actually built up something on defense. They haven't been perfect, but overall the defense has really made strides. But their run defense has been a little up and down this year, and I love the way Corum runs. Now you're making me a little nervous.
I'm not worried about the point. I just think it's a fun.
I'm a little worried because I like all these other ones so much that it's hard to kill one of my babies here. I wish I had more than 3 picks this week. We're going lots of Gregstras. All right, give me your third and final pick.
My third and final pick for the regular 2024 season is the Green Bay Packers.
Okay.
Over the Chicago Bears. I have 12 points.
I have 10 here, so I'll give you 2 free points here on DraftKings right now.
Perfect. Well, my point is my model has
Oh, your model is
my model
12.
has
I see.
exactly. My model has 12 points, which is that's considerably that's a big one for me.
Mm-hmm.
Again, conservative model over here. So that's a good one. In large part because I just think I think they need to figure out how to, especially after last game, they got to right the ship. And this is a situation where with Matt LaFleur, they're heading into the playoffs. The Bears, let's get a little spark going against a Bears team that doesn't have a lot to play for, but pride, of course. But I think this is going to be a good one for them.
Yeah, shout out to the schedule makers. That's early, right? The Green Bay game? Yes,
Yeah.
that is in the early window. So they're at the same time as Washington,
Mhm.
and they've both said that they're going to play their starters for
Yep.
seeding purposes and just wanting to look good. Now, you never know on the Packers side if they scoreboard watched and the Commanders game got out of control, but that game's only a 4.5-point spread. You never know. So it's like a small bit of concern. And I do think ultimately that Washington game does get out of control because that's going to be my third pick.
Oh, I like that.
I'm going Washington minus 4.5. I hate not going with any underdogs this week. My next 3 favorite picks are underdogs, but here I'm going all favorites. I'm going Washington minus 4.5. When it's the 2 division teams thing. When they're uneven teams,
There you go.
they
It's
play
always
they
works
play
for-
once.
yeah.
Dallas already won this matchup.
Yep, they did.
But when you looked at that matchup, they gave up 412 yards. The Commanders ran all over them. The Cowboys have a historically bad run defense. They want to win this game. The Cowboys are not even the same team as they were 4 or 5 weeks ago. They don't have CeeDee Lamb in this game. They don't have Ezekiel Elliott. How could they come back from that? No, I'm just kidding.
I just was looking to see who of their pass catchers. There's one that ranks in the top 40 for me. So it's not a great outlook. Brandon Cooks.
Oh, I was going to say
Not Jalen Tolbert, but yeah.
Jake Ferguson. Yeah, it's not
Jake
great.
Ferguson, obviously he's at the tight end position. He's in like the top 20, but like that's not great.
Yeah, this is purely, again, because I like so many of the other picks, this is purely a team that's playing for something and is peaking versus a team that's ready to go home. And so a matchup that I don't think they'll take lightly because they already lost.
No, I do not.
And 4.5, not quite enough for me. Now that was hard for me though, because
Why?
I don't know. Like I said, because I'm having to kill some babies that most weeks would be like one of my favorite picks.
What if you had to pick one more?
Yeah, well, I'll give you the Gregg.
Okay, give me my
Here we
Gregg
go.
stress.
Here we go. Chiefs plus 10.5. Love that.
Agreed.
It's tricky picking the backups, but could the Chiefs win straight up with their backups? I think it's possible. So if you think it's possible they could win with their backups, to get 10.5 points is pretty juicy. I'm not a huge Carson Wentz fan specifically, and against that defense, that's what knocks it out of my top 3, but I really like it. I like the Panthers plus 8.
I do too. Oh gosh, are we on the same side of everything right this week?
That's good. That's an extra one, so let's write that down as an extra.
Yep.
You just can't be trusting the Atlanta Falcons in the year 2025
Oh.
to be favored by 8 points in any
That's
scenario.
a ridiculous number. Like if it's 6.5, I think they'd get more action on it. You know what I mean?
I think
Like,
that's a
8 just
crazy
seems
number.
Weird.
The Panthers have the better quarterback. I like Michael Penix, but I've seen enough out of Bryce Young that he's playing at a very high level. I know they got waxed last week and the defense is rough.
That's not like
that's why
wax
it's 8 points.
Yeah.
And then I also like the Giants plus 3. I think I'm not going to say they have a little something in Drew Lock, but I actually think that performance was kind of coming. He was a little better. They have something to play for. I think they like their coach. They're playing starters. The Eagles are resting their starters. It's not just like you're without Jalen Hurts. You're without a lot of key players at all these
Right.
positions. So
Do you agree
You're
with
giving-
Do you agree with the sitting Saquon?
yes,
Same.
yes,
People were saying that. I'm like, they're like, he should get to choose if he wants to do it. I'm like,
yeah.
okay, but if he chooses to be selfish and not be the team player, then are we like? And what happens if he get hurt? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's too much. You can't play him. He also
No.
he also leads the NFL in rushes. This guy needs a break. 345 is a huge number. All right, so that is it for my picks. To recap, we are both on the Bucks minus 13.5.
Yep.
Cynthia has the Bengals minus 2 and the Packers minus 10. Like I said, I'm on the Bucks, and then I'm also gonna be on Washington and Seattle. Seattle is minus 6.5 as my main picks, and my little extras just for fun Denver,
Greg's
Giants, and the Panthers are my Gregstras. I would have thrown in the Titans winning as a Gregstra, but everyone is on my side, and that's actually now they're the favorite over the Texans. I don't even want to bother.
I think I have the Texans winning.
Forget that whole situation.
I think we have the Texans. I have the Texans winning. That's where we're.
I mean, when we're talking about whether like the Texans backups can beat Mason Rudolph, it's at the end of the season, and football is back. We'll see you Sunday night.